To understand the value of grounding techniques, let's do a little exercise right now. But before we can do it, I need you to clear your mind of elephants. Whatever you do, don't think about elephants. Take a moment now to get all the thoughts of elephants out of your mind. And when you've done that, we can proceed. Now, if you tried, you may find that it's difficult to not think about elephants. It actually doesn't really compute. You have to think about something else. And that's the way grounding techniques work. When we have a bad feeling in a situation, whether or not you call that anxiety or stress, whether or not you call it a panic attack, or maybe even a sense of post-traumatic stress, what's happening is your mind is focusing on something that's happening either in the past or in your imagination, rather than what's happening in the relatively safe environment you find yourself in the present. So, how do we stop having those thoughts? The answer is we have to think about something else. And that's where grounding comes in. Grounding uses our senses to bring our attention out into the actual environment we're in, to notice the things around us. And by doing so, our mind is distracted from the possibility of having thoughts that might create the stress or panic you're having. This technique uses our five senses to draw our attention outward into the present moment and not inward where our thoughts may be giving us some trouble. And it's simply called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we start with 5, and it's vision. We look around the room and we discover and note 5 things we hadn't seen specifically before. We observe, we make a list of those things. 4, we use this for physicality. So we think about 4 feelings we may not have noticed before. Maybe it's the coolness of the room or the heat of the sun. Maybe it's the hardness of the chair you're sitting in or the tightness of your shoes, something like that. 3 is hearing. We listen for sounds, not the major sound we might hear, maybe the sound of somebody talking, but other noises going on around it. Often, if you focus, you can hear traffic outside of wherever if you're inside, you can hear outside traffic or conversations going on around you. 2, smells. So maybe it's the smell of your own cologne or the perfume of a person sitting next to you. Maybe it's a bad smell. Maybe it's just something about your nose you're noticing, a dryness. And then 1, taste. What are you actually tasting in your mouth right now? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All of these bring our attention outward to the actual environment we're in and the moment we're in, and keep us from reminding ourselves of old thoughts, feelings, and memories. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method is very powerful, and you should practice it before you need it. One problem I have actually run into personally is that I find that I'm so visual as a person that the only way that I can focus on the other senses is by closing my eyes. So if I want to try to identify sounds, I sometimes close my eyes. In moments of stress, closing your eyes can sometimes bring your attention in on inner thoughts. So you might want to try the next technique, the color technique. The color technique is similar to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, except all your observations will be visual, and you'll do them in groups based on the color. So for example, you would start with the color blue, and you'd look in your environment to find all the objects that you can find that are blue. Once you've found all of the objects, you've noted them all, then you move on to the color green, and then yellow, and then red, and then orange, and so on. Each and every time finding all the items that fit that category. Again, the value of this is to keep our observations out and in the present moment, rather than our thoughts or memories. These 2 techniques are just 2 of the ways you can ground yourself in the present moment. Grounding is something we often do automatically or naturally. I've certainly read or heard about people who've brought partners with them to medical examinations so they can talk to them while something else is going on. Alternately, you can listen to music or pet your pet. All kinds of things can be used to keep yourself externally thinking rather than internally thinking. I've left in the notes of this video links to the Mayo Clinic and other resources that discuss the whys and hows of grounding. As always, if you like these videos, please leave a comment. You can subscribe to the channel. And in the comments, please leave any questions you have or topics you'd like me to cover in future videos.